Ferrari's bringing two upgrades over the next few weeks, and either one on its own could genuinely shift how the rest of this title fight plays out. A new floor at Zandvoort, a redesigned turbo at Monza, different problems, different circuits, both landing right when Ferrari can least afford to get either one wrong.
Let's start with Zandvoort, since it's arriving first. Calling this a new floor undersells it a bit. It's really an evolution of the one Ferrari brought to Barcelona a few months back. Floors do most of the aerodynamic work on these cars now, generating downforce through the Venturi tunnels underneath, rather than relying on wings the way older generations of car did. Even a small change to the leading edges, or the shape of those tunnels, can shift how the whole car behaves through a corner, sometimes more dramatically than a wing change would. The obvious assumption with any upgrade is more downforce, full stop, bigger number, faster car. That's not really what's being chased here. The technical breakdown from Ferrari's Hungary weekend found the SF26 wasn't actually short on outright downforce at all. What it was missing was consistency, rear tire management that varied session to session, sometimes lap to lap, leaving Leclerc and Hamilton with a car that behaved differently depending on when you asked it. One lap it's planted through the middle sector, the next it's nervous over the same curbs. It's a much harder problem to fix than simply adding load, because it points to the car correlating badly between what the simulation tools predict and what actually happens once real tires, real fuel loads and real temperatures get involved. Raw grip is one thing to chase. This is something else, and it changes what success actually looks like here. A driver can pull one fast lap out of an inconsistent car on a clean run with everything lined up, tires fresh, track at its grippiest, wind cooperating. Winning a race means doing that consistently across a full stint, tires degrading, track conditions shifting through the session, and still trusting the balance corner after corner without having to second guess the car every time it changes direction. Zandvoort's a genuinely useful test for exactly that reason. It's not a circuit of isolated braking zones and long straights where a car can hide its flaws between corners. It's banked, flowing, corner after corner with barely a breather, and it punishes a car with unpredictable balance far more harshly than most circuits on the calendar would.
So what should we actually be looking for once this floor's on the car?
Don't expect a dramatic number in a straight line speed comparison, because that's not what it's designed to fix. Watch how close Leclerc and Hamilton's lap times stay to each other once the tyres start dropping off 10-15 laps into a stint. Watch how the car holds through those long committed corners rather than how it looks on a single qualifying lap where everything's optimized for one perfect run. More trust, less variation session to session, drivers pushing earlier into a corner because they actually believe the rear is going to hold rather than hoping it does. This upgrade was built to deliver exactly that, even if it never shows up as a headline gain anywhere near a speed trap. Part of why Ferrari can afford to develop this floor carefully rather than panic and throw everything at once is a head start most of the grid still doesn't have. Back in the summer of 2025, Ferrari became the first team to put a flipping rear wing concept in front of the FIA, a design that changes its aerodynamic behavior depending on what phase of the lap you're in. Nicholas Tombazis, who runs the FIA's technical department, looked at the idea and gave a simple answer. It was legal, and the governing body would always encourage anything that genuinely reduced drag. Hamilton ran it for 2 laps during testing that year, then it came straight back off the car, which wasn't nerves. It was Ferrari collecting real data while showing the rest of the paddock as little as possible. It went quiet for months before reappearing in China this year, got paused again after some braking instability, and didn't properly race until Miami. James Vowles put it well when he described how teams generally react to something like this, either claiming they'd already thought of it and discarded it, or admitting they hadn't, and scrambling to work out within 24 hours whether it's worth chasing. Since Miami, Ferrari's wing has run clean every single weekend, and there's already an evolved, lighter version out at Hungary. Compare that to where everyone else stands right now. Red Bull started weeks later and missed their own planned debut at Suzuka after Pierre Wache confirmed a structural issue held them back, and Verstappen's still complaining the car loses downforce as a stint wears on with their version. McLaren's stuck testing prototypes, a mechanism that kept jamming through practice at Austria, only getting proper mileage during a filming day, and an FP1 outing with a reserve driver with no real race debut planned until the second half of the year. Mercedes dropped their version entirely, reportedly over budget, deciding the resource simply wasn't worth it. The head start bought Ferrari time and development room. It didn't win them anything on its own, because a wing advantage doesn't win a championship by itself. Charles Leclerc said as much after Hungary, and he wasn't dressing it up for the cameras. McLaren's package at the Hungaroring showed exactly how fast the competitive order can flip under these regulations, and his point afterward was blunt. The team can't afford to just sit on what they've already got and hope it holds. Which brings us to Monza. And this one's a completely different animal because it isn't aerodynamic at all. This is Ferrari's second additional development and upgrade opportunity, ADUO for short, the concession system that lets power unit manufacturers behind the competitive benchmark make targeted mid-season changes outside the normal development freeze that would otherwise apply. The team already used one earlier this year. This second package is being described as considerably more significant than the first, built around a completely redesigned turbocharger. The turbo's job, at its simplest, is forcing more air into the combustion process so the engine can burn more fuel and generate more power per cycle. How well it holds boost at high engine speeds decides how much power actually gets put down as a straight builds toward its end, rather than tailing off early. Ferrari's carried a genuine deficit there through the first half of the season, one that's shown up repeatedly in top speed comparisons. Monza is about the least forgiving place on the entire calendar to expose a weakness like that. Long straights, extended full throttle sections that make up a huge share of the lap, a circuit where straight line efficiency and how well the car deploys its electrical power matter more than almost anywhere else, teams race all year. Get the redesigned turbo right, and that deficit closes exactly where it's cost them the most all season, right at the end of the straight, right as a rival's arriving in the slipstream with a run they shouldn't have had.
But what happens if it isn't fully ready?
The team's already stepped up reliability testing specifically for this upgrade, which tells you they know exactly what they're gambling on. More power that doesn't survive a full race distance isn't an upgrade at all. It's a retirement waiting to happen. And this is a team that's built its entire title push this year on being the reliable one, while rivals around them haven't managed that consistency. Trading that reputation for a few tenths at their home race in front of their own crowd with the whole of Italy watching would be a genuinely bad deal if it goes wrong for everyone to see. There's a real chance they have to limit how hard they push the new hardware early on, running it conservatively rather than at full potential, or delay parts of the introduction entirely, simply to protect the reliability record that's kept them in this fight in the first place. Line the two upgrades up and the plan stops looking random or reactive. The flaw's chasing consistency and driver trust, the sort of gain that shows up in a stint average rather than a single lap. The turbo's chasing raw power and straight line efficiency, the kind of gain that shows up on a speed trap readout at the end of the Monza straight. Together they answer the two clearest weaknesses that showed up in Ferrari's own Hungary data, how the car behaves lap to lap under real conditions and how it performs at full throttle against faster rivals. Nobody's guessing where to spend limited development tokens under the cost cap here. This is a team that went back through its own numbers, found the two things actually worth fixing and built a plan around exactly those two things in the order the calendar happens to let them fix them. My honest read on this, Zandvoort's the far safer bet of the two, and it's not particularly close. The team's been running a race-by-race development approach all year rather than banking everything on one enormous package, and it's already worked. This flaw builds directly on a concept that proved itself back at Barcelona rather than starting from a blank sheet of paper. There's real precedent behind it. The Monza Turbo worries me more, and I think it's fair to say that openly rather than pretend it's a guaranteed win. It's new hardware debuting under maximum pressure at Ferrari's home race, and it's a genuinely different kind of engineering challenge to anything else currently on this car. Land it, and they've closed their biggest remaining weakness right as the calendar heads into its toughest, most demanding stretch of the year. Miss it, and end up having to dial the thing back to protect reliability, and they're stuck carrying the exact same straight line problem they've had all season, only now with considerably fewer races left on the calendar to fix it. That timing matters more than it might look on paper if you're just skimming a calendar. After Monza, there's no let-up whatsoever. 4 Grands Prix packed into 5 weeks across Austin, Mexico City, Interlagos and Las Vegas, with a third significant Ferrari package reportedly aimed somewhere in that exact stretch too. At that point, there isn't much room left this season to introduce something that doesn't work and simply shrug it off, try again a few races later.
Do you think Ferrari's got the order right? Consistency first, then power? Or should they have just gone straight for Monza given how much time they've already lost on the straights this season? Let me know down below.